Why did you choose pharmacy?
So Canada has always been one of those places where like dreams come true kind of thing,
True.
you know.
Did you do some basic retail startup jobs as well?
Whichever province you want to get licensed in, they hold their own exam. I would drive straight to the library, study there for 2-3 hours until they would close down, kick me out. I actually printed resumes, walked into pharmacies hoping to find the owner working.
Was this always in the back of your mind that I want to own a pharmacy someday?
Right.
I almost understand. It's like your gut will tell you this is the right thing, go for it.
It is. She called me out of the blue and she's like, Ankita, I have something to tell you. Like, this is the opportunity that we're looking at in Canada. Drugs that are not commercially available can be actually made from scratch in a pharmacy. We went into a little bit of a difficult situation where my pharmacist friend ended up leaving.
Sometimes it's not covered in your healthcare.
Yeah.
What is so special about compounded medications? How was your first day? How were you feeling? And were you happy it was finally happening for you?
And I hear everybody yelling my name. And I'm like, what happened, right? So I come running out from the back and I see...
And the memory, it will stay with you forever, right? Such a
one
special
of the best memories,
thing.
yes.
Yeah. Have you seen old people struggling with...
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes. There are other programs that are government funded programs, which a lot of seniors don't know about.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. आज हम बात करने वाले हैं अंकिता से, जो एक इंटरनेशनली ट्रेन्ड फार्मासिस्ट है। उन्होंने अपनी एजुकेशन इंडिया से कंप्लीट की और फिर कनाडा आकर फार्मेसी लाइसेंसिंग प्रोसेस सक्सेसफुली कंप्लीट किया। रिटेल फार्मेसी चेन्स में काम करने के बाद अंकिता ने अपना एंटरप्रेन्योरियल जर्नी स्टार्ट किया बाय ओपनिंग हर ओन फार्मेसी, व्हिच इज अ ह्यूज माइलस्टोन इन इटसेल्फ। इस एपिसोड में उन्होंने डिटेल में शेयर किया कि कनाडा में फार्मासिस्ट बनने का प्रोसेस क्या होता है, फॉर इंटरनेशनल ग्रेड्स क्या चैलेंजेस आए और अपना बिजनेस स्टार्ट करते हो क्या कुछ सीखने मिला। ये एपिसोड उन लोगों के लिए स्पेशली हेल्पफुल होगा जो फार्मेसी फील्ड में करियर बनाना चाहते हैं या फिर कनाडा में अपनी प्रोफेशनल लाइसेंसिंग जर्नी शुरू कर रहे हैं। साथ ही जो लोग एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के बारे में सोच रहे हैं उनके लिए भी काफी प्रैक्टिकल इनसाइट्स मिलेंगे। तो चलिए सुनते हैं अंकिता की प्रैक्टिकल और इंसाइटफुल जर्नी फ्रॉम फार्मासिस्ट टू एंटरप्रेन्योर इन कनाडा। Hello, Ankita. Welcome to today's podcast. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks for having me here. My name is Ankita and I was born and raised in Mumbai in India. I had done all my schooling, most of my college life and everything was there. I have a background of pharmacy. So I'm a pharmacist from India. I got graduated over there and then decided to, move here and explore my life here in Canada.
Right. Why did you choose pharmacy? Were you always interested into medicine?
It was actually almost like a no-brainer for me because my whole family almost is in healthcare.
Oh, okay.
And so my dad, he's a doctor. My brother, he's a doctor. And so it was kind of like a no-brainer for me to decide that I do want to go into healthcare as well.
Right.
And right around the time when I was choosing what kind of healthcare I wanted to get into, we were kind of on the fence about moving to Canada.
Okay.
So we did do actually a little bit of a research into what kind of healthcare area will be easier for me to get relicensed here and then have a good work life moving forward. My mom was actually a banker back home in India.
Okay.
And I always felt I think the corporate and the office jobs was really not meant for me.
Oh, okay.
So that's how kind of I ended up deciding on pharmacy.
Right. But you didn't want to become a doctor?
So I could have become a doctor if I would have stayed in India.
Okay.
Right. So my dad, he had his own practice, and growing up, I would probably have ended up, taking that forward and, moving ahead with that. But when we were deciding to move here, getting licensed and the whole process of getting licensed as a pharmacist is a little bit easier, straightforward than a doctor.
A doctor.
I could have done that, but it's just very tedious and lots of hoops to get over. And so I ended up deciding that, pharmacy is the good kind of healthcare sector that I can be in. Plus, I think my dad was a big influence on that too, right? Like he is a visionary and he plans for the future all the time. I've learned that from him. So he was the one who kind of pushed me towards pharmacy and not so much to become a doctor, because he could see like the life here of a pharmacist versus a doctor, like work-life balance will be better and, all of that, and getting the licensing and stuff will be much easier.
Yeah,
and
it's
faster.
Good. Yeah. You have that kind of guidance from your dad to, make a decision. But your parents decided to move Canada.
Yes. Yeah. So I was back then in school. I was quite young and mom and dad decided to move here. I did have a bit of a family here. So my uncle, my aunt, so my mom's sister, her whole family is over here.
Okay.
On her in-laws side.
Okay.
And so they actually were living in India initially. And then when I was quite young, they ended up moving here first.
Mm-hmm.
And so over the years, I've seen them go back and forth, from here to India. And I hear all kinds of stories. And so Canada has always been one of those places where like dreams come true kind of thing,
That's
and
true.
it's like this magical place. Okay, well, I've been imagining it for so long. And so I kind of wanted to move here too,
Right.
if I'm being honest. But yeah, eventually, as we got older, me and my brother, we finished our university. So he finished his university first. He's older than me. And then he decided to move to the US for further studies.
Okay.
At that point, parents really realized that if he's going to be in the US and, moving forward with his studies and work and all of that, he's highly likely that he's not moving back to India.
Right.
And so they didn't want to have the family split between the East and the West.
Right.
They wanted to keep all of us together. So they decided eventually that, okay, well, we're going to apply for the immigration in Canada because it's a little bit definitely easier than moving to the US. Plus the push from my uncle's side too, right? So that has always been around. So eventually they decided that, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to move. And then they're the ones who applied. And me and my brother, we were just dependents back then in school, right? So that's how we all ended up coming to Canada.
Here. Yeah, that my follow-up question would have been like, why did you decide moving to Canada? But because you had family, that makes sense. And it is so much easier to, come to Canada and integrate yourself here when you have family.
Yeah.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
But which year did you move here?
So we moved here in 2010.
2010?
Yeah.
It's been a long time now.
It's been a long time. Yeah. Yeah. You think back and you look back and it seems like just yesterday, but it's gone by so fast. I have actually, I could say almost like I've grown up here because I just was fresh out of graduation, fresh out of university, and then just kind of started my life here. Had my first ever job here, and then, doing more studies and all of that, figuring life basically was here for me.
You mentioned you did jobs. Did you do some basic retail startup jobs as well?
Yeah. So honestly, everybody that moves here, has to start somewhere low and then kind of work your way up. And that was the same journey that I had to go through. When I moved here, I had just finished my pharmacy school back home in India. And when I moved here, I had to go through the licensing process, which was going to take me a little bit of time. So in the meantime, just having those survival jobs, trying to, pay for rent and house stuff and all of that. I had to figure that out. So my first job was actually at a retail clothing store, Urban Planet. And I was just a person that sits in the back room all by themselves, and just opens the shipment and puts it all together, folds it, whatever. So that was my basic first job.
Okay.
Yeah, it was... It was not something that I had imagined for myself,
Okay.
but I knew it was just it was a start off, right? So I
Right.
just had to like figure out where to go next.
Yeah.
And I actually got really lucky that within a month of me moving here, I was doing that job, and then eventually I got a job at Walmart, but
Okay.
in the pharmacy department.
Okay.
Yeah, so just like the front store pharmacy person. But at least it was something related to pharmacy, and I was
Yeah.
very excited about that.
Yeah. That's the one thing common between both of us. Like I started like my first job in Walmart as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a cashier when I like moved here.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, like your father, he already did his research about pharmacy. So you were aware of all the licensing and what has to be done after coming to Canada. So did you start right off the bat, like once you moved here?
Yeah, so I did start almost right off the bat. I kind of knew what the licensing process is going to be looking like and how often I can write those exams and, get moving basically. So the minute I got here, I sent my paperwork for evaluation. So
Mhm.
once the document evaluation was done, then I could book my first exam, which
Okay.
was, so when I came here around, towards the later part of the year. So the first exam was going to be next year in June. So in summer,
Okay.
June, July. And so I had like a good 6 months to 8 months to kind of get used to the country and then start preparing for the exam as well.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't waste any time, sticking with just full-time jobs and not doing the licensing process because I
Right.
knew that was the final goal. I did want to get licensed and just get my life started as
Right.
soon as I could. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
How many exams do you have to like give and write to become a pharmacist here?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward process, which I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 exams that are Canada-wide exams.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a licensing authority that holds these exams, and they only hold these exams twice a year, though.
Okay.
And you have to pass one to go on to the next one. I could start preparing for the first one right off the bat, and within 6 months, I wrote my first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a little bit of gap between writing the next ones because the second and the third exam are the same exams that grads from here give. So
Okay.
if they want to once they are out of university, they also have to give the same exams to get basically their license.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So the first exam was to basically get me in comparison to the grads from here. So that's called the evaluating exam. But then the next ones are basically all pharmacists have to write in Canada.
Okay.
So those are really difficult ones.
Yeah.
And so I decided to take a little bit of time, and focus more on the studying before I actually give the exam because you only get 3 chances at those exams.
Okay. 3 cumulative or 3 at
per
each?
exam.
3 per exam.
3 per
Okay.
exam, yeah. So didn't want to waste any chances. Plus, obviously, they're expensive exams. So,
Okay.
trying to make sure that I'm not wasting that money and, trying to make sure that I'm very confident before I go in and write that exam was important.
Right.
So, so that's what I did. The rules are a little bit different now from when I did it because I did it almost like 13, 14 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of around the same.
So do you
idea.
still need to write 3 exams?
You still need to write the 3 exams. The only difference mainly now, it depends on which province you're in too. So I'll speak of Alberta. Here, if you don't pass those exams in the first attempt, you have to go to do a course at U of A, which is called like a bridging course.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 6-month course.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite expensive. It's almost $10,000 to do that.
Okay.
So that's the one thing that's a little bit
changed.
Different, than when I did my exams.
Mm-hmm.
I think over the years they have, the rules change all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, there is an additional exam after the third exam, which depends on the province. So, whichever province you want to get licensed in, they hold their own exam, and it's more like a jurisprudence law kind of exam. So they want to know they want to make sure that you understand what the laws are of that province before you actually start practicing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are so many questions. You have studied pharmacy in India.
Yeah.
And then you had to study again in Canada for relicensing.
Yeah.
Is it very different than India or is it similar?
The biggest difference is, first of all, how we write the exams. Back home, you write the exams and they're basically essay-based exams, right?
You have a question, you write
your answer. Right. Or calculations are easy. You have the question, you write your calculation, you come to the answer.
Yeah.
But most of the questions are essays-based exam. Here, it's MCQ, so multiple choice questions, which is a little bit of a difficulty when you have those 4 answers to choose from. You always end up getting stuck on 2 for some reason, right? And then
they put it like they make it such tricky answers.
Always
right?
do.
Yeah,
always do. It's always the close call between the 2, and then you have to choose the best possible one. Okay. And so trying to get used to that style of the test was a little bit of a struggle too, right? Mm-hmm. And so first of all, that was different. Other than that, honestly, the first exam was more like evaluating. So it was kind of getting me up to speed, trying to basically let them know that I've been through school and, that I know my basics and stuff. Exactly. So the first exam wasn't that crazy and difficult. Mm-hmm. It was more of a review of all the 4 years that I've spent on graduation, right? But the second and the third exam were quite different. So the second exam is more clinical based. So the questions are more clinical based and they kind of get you to do like critical thinking to come to an answer. They're more case based questions, right? Yeah, which is not so much of stuff that we do in India. Because in India, most of the exams are just basically knowledge-based exams. Yeah. But you're not doing that critical thinking of, let's say a patient comes to you, what would you do if they had this kind of reaction, right? And what would you tell the doctor? Well, how would you explain to the doctor that this is what you should be doing, right? That's what we do here, which is very different from what we do back home in India. And then the third exam is actually like a actual patient relationship with the pharmacist kind of exam. It's a live exam. So you walk into a room and there's a patient sitting there, which is, they're actually basically trained actors. And so the patient is sitting there. You are a pharmacist and you walk into the room. There's another pharmacist in the room that is your assessor. Right. And so you would basically carry out the whole scenario of that question. And it's a 7-minute test and you do different rooms. So that's very you got to be focused. You got to be on point. No nervousness allowed, right? Yeah, which is difficult. How would you not be nervous when, you're being assessed on what are you talking, what sort of questions you're asking? Exactly. It can be anything and everything. The only good part about that exam is you have your references. So you don't have to speak out of what you know. You can actually look at, it's an open book kind of exam, but you only also have 7 minutes. Right. So you're kind of constrained on time on that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But just to simplify for the listeners, so the first exam is just knowing the basics and it's evaluating what you've already studied. Yeah. The second exam would be multiple choice questions. Yeah. Even the first one is multiple choice questions, but the questions are more knowledge-based questions and basic questions. And the second one is more clinical. Yeah. And the third one is practical, you can say. You have to practical, be there in person and solving real life scenarios. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How much time does it usually take to finish the entire 3 exams? Right. So the first exam, as I said, both these exams or the 3 exams are held only twice in a year. So it comes down to timing. So I'll tell you how I did it. So I started studying in the month of January, Feb, and then I wrote my first exam in July. So it took me about 6 months to prepare for it. And then the second and the third exams, I was able to write them both at the same time. So I actually decided to write it in the following year in June at the same time. And I'm very happy that I passed in the first attempt, so I didn't have to repeat it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So it took me about a year to write the 3 exams. And then you have to write a provincial exam, which is not too bad. It's pretty straightforward and easy, which you can write anytime. They hold these exams the whole time. So you just choose the date, time that works for you.
Okay.
But in addition to that, there's also internship.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to do 6 months of internship, which I was able to do between the first and the second exam. So I didn't have to wait after my exam results to do internship. So I was able to finish the whole process within a year. But nowadays the rules, because they are a little bit different, they only allow you to start your internship after the second exam is passed.
Okay.
So sometimes that can delay the process. So I would say today, if somebody is wanting to write it, it might take them a year and a half, as long as they pass all the exams in first attempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but let's say you come here, you give yourself around 6 months of
Minimum.
time, write first exam,
Yeah.
then take another year because you
need to prepare.
You need
Yeah.
to prepare and then skip the first one and give it. It only happens twice a year. So if
Exactly.
you skip the first test, it's
Then
1
you win.
year. So year and a half, and then again 1 year for
Half
the
a year
third.
for internship.
Half year is okay.
Yeah, half a year. You could
You-
probably work and do the internship and then write the third exam, because the third exam, like we said, it's more practical. So
Yeah.
you would actually be better at that while you're doing your internship. And-
exactly. Okay. You mentioned that you worked at Walmart, right?
Yes.
When you came here. So before it was okay if you had like your pharmacy background from outside of Canada to start working in a pharmacy.
Right. Very
You could
good
do that?
question. Yeah. So there's 3 levels of jobs in pharmacy. Actually, I should say 4, because front store department, which you see in the pharmacy here,
Okay.
where you could just go buy your Tylenol, buy your Advil, just pick it up. That department, somebody needs to manage that. So that's called a pharmacy front store associate.
Okay.
So somebody that can stock it and order it and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay. So
You don't-
merchandiser.
Merchandising. You don't need
Okay.
to be qualified pharmacy professional as long
Right.
as you're trained on the products. And then if you look behind the counter, there's a pharmacist. Obviously,
Yeah.
every pharmacy needs a pharmacist as a licensee
Yeah.
for it to run, for it to be open at all times. And then the second level would be pharmacy technician, which is actually also licensed. Pharmacy technician is just like an employee of the pharmacy, which is also licensed by our College of Pharmacists here. So you hold your own license, just like the pharmacists do. They can do a little bit more than any other, like a cashier or somebody that could work in the pharmacy, right? So they could check prescriptions. They can make blister packaging and stuff like that. There are certain tasks that are still left to the pharmacist. Only pharmacists can do that. Yeah,
Okay.
but pharmacy technicians are really, a profession that is almost like very fast growing in all the provinces in Canada.
Okay.
So they're trying to get a lot of stuff off of the pharmacist and onto the pharmacy technician, so pharmacists can focus on more clinical side.
Right.
And then there's also a pharmacy assistant
Yeah.
in the pharmacy. And those pharmacy assistants can be basically anybody that has gone to school to do a diploma course or pharmacy assistant course.
Okay.
Or international grads like me could also work as a pharmacy assistant in the meantime until they get licensed as a pharmacist.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question that I was going to ask you that I missed before was how did your day look when you were studying for exam 2 or 1?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know how many hours did you dedicate to studying
Yeah.
and like working?
Yeah.
Because and some people like mostly immigrants that are coming here who are pharmacists, they're probably managing everything, right?
Yeah.
Like they want to work and earn, have the stable income, but
Exactly.
study as well. So
Exactly. Yeah. And that's definitely a struggle to figure out that balance of like working and also spending time and, focusing on that studies,
right,
because it is important. We said like you only get 3 chances at this.
exactly.
So, I was very fortunate when I started working at Walmart. I actually made friends with the pharmacists there, pharmacy assistants there. And one of the pharmacists that was covering one day ended up talking to me. He was also an international grad, and he introduced me to a program that Alberta government has.
Okay.
And it's run by Bow Valley College. It's called Directions for Immigrants.
Okay.
And it's an amazing program that is run here, fully funded by the government, to help pharmacy professionals and other professionals like nursing, engineers, architects, other professions that need to get licensed, doctors, I guess, also that need to get licensed here. So they have this program where they have organized study groups.
Okay.
Yeah, so I ended up joining those study groups too. So I would dedicate my mornings once a week to those study groups. They kind of helped me structure my days as to how much time I should be studying and what kind of topics I should be studying, because pharmacy is such a vast topic.
Right.
Then they could have asked me anything from anywhere, right? Anything that I studied in my graduation for 4 years. And so the study group actually had it really, kind of structured, the topics that I can study for that week, and then go write an exam at my study group, discuss it with actual pharmacist that is already licensed. They would come in and they would facilitate a class for us.
Okay.
So that's how those study groups run. So that kind of helped me structure my own studies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was working, I was kind of trying to stay with part-time, not full-time.
Not full-time. Okay.
But I would, any and every time that I would get at home, I would try to, focus on studies. I would dedicate at least an hour, 2 hours to studies per day. And then, sometimes life happens and you can, but trying to stick to the program with the study group really helped me focus on it. Yeah. But the one thing that actually happened to me, before I wrote the first exam, through another contact at Walmart, I ended up getting a pharmacy assistant job. So now I was inside the pharmacy at a different pharmacy, not at Walmart, but at like an independent, smaller pharmacy here in Calgary. And without thinking, I took the job no matter what. I had the exam coming up, but I'm like, I would never get this step
opportunity
exactly forward from where I was, and I didn't want to miss it.
Right.
So I ended up taking that job, and that job was full time, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay.
And it was 1 month away from my exam, and I was kind of, scared for myself. How am I gonna,
right. And with the new position,
exactly,
it's such a learning curve, right?
It was quite a bit of a learning curve, and all the pharmacists and the assistants that I have been trained by have had so much patience that it is amazing to, even working in such a chaotic environment, they could still take the time and teach me. So that was amazing. But yeah, a month before my exam, I got this job. I started this job. And what I would do is I would work there 9 to 5. I would leave work and straight to the library. And I would drive straight to the library, study there for 2-3 hours until they would close down, kick me out, and then go home, have dinner. If I had even a little bit more energy in me, I would study
more.
And then just on repeat for the 1 month, and ended up writing the exam.
But see, this is such a valuable lesson, or thing to know. This is what you did, because it just tells that it's doable.
Yes.
Even if you have a full-time job, if you dedicate a time slot or whatever time you get to studying, it is doable, and this is achievable, right?
Exactly. It is doable. It is achievable. We just got to be focused. And that's what I tell any other pharmacist that comes down here too, right? It's your 1 year. You just have to focus for that 1 year.
Right.
And that's it, right? Just prioritizing that studies for that 1 year is something that we all need to do. And then after that, once you're in your work life, everything's gets a little bit better, right?
Right.
You get more time for yourself and your family and all of that.
Exactly. The most important factor for immigrants, like no matter where they are from, would be how much money
Yeah.
is required to do the licensing for all the 3 exams.
Yeah, over the years, it has actually gotten a little bit more expensive, obviously. So I was actually just checking recently, and for another new grad, the whole process would take about $4,500 to write the exams. So the 3 exams. But that doesn't include our books and stuff. So the books are also quite expensive. So, you could say around like $5,000.
Okay, that is still like
not too bad. Yeah.
Like, because like other professionals like dentists and whatnot, their fees are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
can
okay,
imagine.
for 5,000, even in today's
economy.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were there any other resources available for financing if required? If someone had to take a loan
Yeah.
and they didn't have funds to fund themselves.
That's true. I have heard over the years that there is actually a full-time program that you could do. And they also, for the time you spend studying with that institute, so it's called Braden Institute, I believe.
Institute?
Braden, yeah. I'm not sure how, and I've heard it from other people, but you could sign up for that. And then it's like almost like a full-time, you have to be dedicated to, study and review and, prepare for the exam, but they do help you financially. So depending on what your family finance position is, and then they will look at that, and then they will help you, figure the finances out until, you pass the exams.
Good.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, like you could do internships. Are those paid internships or unpaid internships?
Most of them are unpaid internships.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you could get lucky and, the owner that you end up working for and doing an internship might end up paying you.
Okay.
It kind of all depends on the business that you end up at.
Okay.
In my case, because I was working as a pharmacy assistant, the job that I got a month before my first exam, I kept going with that. So I kept that job. And then I very, nicely asked my owner at the pharmacy to let me do my internship there as well. And good thing he agreed. And then while I was working, I was kind of doing my internship. So it was kind of like an overlap for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are 2 different things. Internship you have to do in order to get your license.
Correct.
Even if you're working, let's say, as a pharmacy assistant.
Yeah.
You still have to complete the internship.
You do.
These 2 are 2 different things.
2 different things. So yeah, depends, and your hours can basically be counted towards internship. So you could, you just have to come to that understanding with the person that you're working for.
Okay.
And then, but some people, if they don't get the internship where they're working, they would sometimes end up working part-time and doing internships just to kind of have those, a little bit of finances kind of coming in. Yeah.
But how many hours of experience do you need to complete this internship?
1,000 hours.
1,000 hours?
Yeah.
How much is that approximately?
About 6 months.
6 months full time?
Yeah, full time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could work and do your internships and finish the course within a year and a half, you mentioned,
year and a half,
right?
Yeah. And then depends on the delays in here. So I would say a year and a half, as long as everything kind of, works how you imagine it to be, how you plan it to be. Yeah. Otherwise, sometimes there can be delays, with finding where to do internship, because not every place can offer interns. Yeah.
So which year did you actually get your license as a pharmacist?
In 2014.
2014?
Yeah. So it's been 11 years of almost. Yeah. Doing the same thing.
And still a lifetime to go.
Oh my gosh, yes. Just starting.
Yeah. But so when you got your license, did you still continue working for the pharmacy that you were working for?
No. So actually what happened is, I was covering for a mat leave at that pharmacy. That's why I was hired. So I did that for a year. And then I ended up writing my exams and everything. And then after that, finding job was a bit of a struggle back then.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've seen the last like 10, 11 years of me being involved in the pharmacy. There have been a surplus of pharmacists. Then there is very not that many pharmacists in town. Sometimes it's easy to find relief work. Sometimes it's not, right? All of that has happened. It's been like an up and down journey.
Right.
But when the year that I graduated, the year that I got my license was 2014. In that year, there were surplus of pharmacists here. So there were way too many pharmacists, not as many jobs in the city, at least. And so what I ended up doing is I actually printed resumes, walked into pharmacies hoping to find the owner working and, trying to talk to them directly, face to face, and very traditional way of finding a job. Because I honestly didn't know what else to do because there were no job postings back then because most people that were in the city had good jobs. They didn't want to move. The economy was great and all of that was good, right? So that was a bit of a struggle. So I ended up going from store to store. In the meantime, though, I did have a relief agency that I signed up for. What they do is they place pharmacists wherever there's a need. So if somebody is going on vacation, for example, at a pharmacy and they have a gap of like 2 weeks, a week, whatever, they'll find pharmacists. So our pharmacists will sign up with this relief agency and relief agency will find these places where there's a, need for relief. And then they'll place us.
Is it like this is like a recruitment agency? Basically, for pharmacists.
For pharmacists. It's basically, just relief pharmacists is what they supply. So I did that for about 3 months or so. So at that point of time, like I said, the city was full of pharmacists. So there were no even like relief opportunities here in the city. So they ended up placing me outside the city. So I drove up to Edmonton a few times, went to Lethbridge, Sylvan Lake. I had a shift at Lethbridge starting 8 to 4.
Oh, so these are shifts, not like jobs for let's say months or 2 months.
The Edmonton one was for a week, and then I had a couple weeks.
But like you'll have to find accommodation. And I'm not sure like the amount you earn would be enough to like stay and manage.
It cuts out of a lot of your finances. Your income is just going into finding accommodation, driving up gas prices, and
food,
stuff like
everything, groceries.
And then if it's a day job, then you are like the Lethbridge job, I was at 8 o'clock, so I got up early, drove up 2 hours in the morning, and then 2 hours back after work. So
this is still a thing.
It is still a thing. People do this still. Okay.
But this relief agency, is it like regulated by the city or government, or is it like independent?
It's private.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of relief agencies actually right now.
Oh, okay.
Out there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when did you finally find the job and how did that happen?
Yeah. So I actually ended up walking into this one pharmacy. It's independently owned, and I kind of knew a pharmacist that had worked there for a few shifts. And so I'm like, okay, maybe, I know that this pharmacy is a good pharmacy. The team is great. I was really, positive about it. And I ended up walking in, and I got lucky. The owner was there. I sat down with him right away. And one of their pharmacists was actually moving to Edmonton in a week or 2 weeks.
Oh, you just got lucky.
I just got lucky that I was at the right place, the right time.
At the right time,
yeah. And so we did a few interviews, and I ended up getting the job. And I still work at that place. And so I have worked there for 11 years now.
Oh.
Yeah.
You still work there?
I do. I actually still work there.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It's it almost seems like I've built that place now. So it's hard to leave.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I was such a fresh graduate. And the owners there were amazing, and they taught me like everything, and a lot of the stuff that I know right now and do is, I learned from them.
Right. Before I move any forward, is there anything I missed, like regarding resources? Like you said, you did the study groups, internships, and everything. Did I miss anything, or
I don't think so.
any other resources?
Any other resources? I think the major resource that I ended up using is Directions for Immigrants.
Okay.
They are actually really amazing because they also help grads and newcomers basically not to just get licensed, but also kind of integrate into the culture.
Right. Yeah.
So they run these programs with where they teach you about communication. So how to communicate with other healthcare professionals, how to communicate with your team members. So they run these programs, which are really once you do them, you can kind of is an eye opener almost, and helps you integrate with the culture here. They also help you have figure out your resume for that matter, and like finding a job and stuff like that. So that was a great resource. Plus the Newcomer Center here in Calgary is also an amazing resource, right? So that's also something that we looked into. They do run English, classes and stuff. So if somebody is, kind of wanting to take that, they have that offered for newcomers, which is amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So, but it has almost been 11 years since you got your license. And now let's dive into what you're doing right now. You own a pharmacy.
I do.
No. Yes. Were you was this always in the back of your mind that I want to own a pharmacy someday? Or was there a moment where you thought why don't I do this?
Yeah. I think I've always wanted to own something of my own. And going back to my dad, he is a doctor from India, and he has always owned his own practice. Right. So since the year I was born is the year that I think, and kind of around that time, he started his own practice. Okay. Yeah. So, since I can remember, I've always seen him, doing his own practice, working the way he wants to work, kind of shaping his future like he wants to do it. And so that was always in the back of my mind. And I think I've always deep down wanted something of my own like that. Okay. So that was, I had to start somewhere. So I started with a job and to kind of learn the profession and stuff like that. And I've been wanting to own a pharmacy for, since I got confident at what I was doing. I think since then I kind of wanted to.
You were thinking about it.
I was thinking about it for sure. Yes.
So from the idea to actually owning, just walk us through your journey. What was your first step? When you thought, okay, I've learned enough, and you feel confident, running a pharmacy. Yeah. Yeah. How did you go about it?
So for quite a bit of years, since I've been thinking about it, I've been talking to my peers and other coworkers and all of that. I've been constantly kind of putting the feelers out there, right? That I want to do this, because I think opening a business here in Canada is quite difficult. Okay. It's quite a big of a risk. And I kind of had this feeling in my mind that I don't want to do it all by myself. I do want something that I can do it with, right? So having a partnership was something that I kind of favored more than just being a sole proprietor. I think it kind of stems from where I first started working. The owners were there were two owners, partners, and they have been working together for a very long time. And then, they ended up doing businesses together and all of that. So that idea kind of stood out to me, and having somebody on board, having your back and helping you out with, trying to figure out, navigate stresses and all of that. So that was always appealing. So I was looking around, trying to find pharmacies, if anybody's selling, or even starting your own, talking to the doctors, right? Because it's always nice to have a clinic next door to a pharmacy here in Calgary. So that's kind of what the idea was I was looking for, having a clinic next door, maybe having more services like dentist and other physiotherapists, all of those kinds of services around in the neighborhood, and then having the pharmacy kind of attached to in there.
When you mention risks, what sort of risks are you referring to?
I think the major risk would be finances, the financial risk for sure. Because when you start something new, you don't have that fallback option. You have to make it work almost, because it's a big, any kind of like brick and mortar business is going to have rent and employees and salaries and all of that to make sure that everything's covered. So I think financial risk was always on the back of my mind. I've always been a little bit more conservative and thoughtful about it. So that was the biggest one, I think, I feel, kind of to overcome, almost. Yeah.
But so when you were looking, you had like sort of an idea of what you wanted. Let's say how you mentioned, like you wanted like maybe clinics or dental clinics around it, but you were also open for businesses who are selling, who already had an established, setup.
Yeah, exactly. So there are kind of two different things where you can start from scratch, build it as you want it to be, construction and everything included. Or you could just, if somebody is selling their existing pharmacy, then you could end up buying that pharmacy. So I was kind of looking for both, whatever opportunity kind of comes my way. I've looked into over the years, a lot of pharmacies that are selling. Sometimes you look at their numbers, you look at where the location is, if there's a clinic next door or not, right? So all of those kind of things always mattered. I think for me, location was the biggest one. Finding a place where there's, it's a retail kind of business. So having that foot traffic, it's always advantageous. It's always good to have that established. Plus having the clinic next door, and then having a good rapport with the doctors was always very important as well. So kind of making that all come into existence was not that easy. Everything to fit the puzzle, was not, it took time. So I looked for years and years, and then nothing really, kind of
it took years.
For sure. Because I wanted it to be right. I wanted it, I didn't want to just because somebody's selling, I didn't want to buy it, right? I just wanted to take my time, and because there was no rush, I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be something that will last for a long time, right?
I almost understand. It's like your gut will tell you this is the right thing, go for it. It never felt for you.
It didn't feel like that. So I looked into pharmacies, and then I let it go, and like, no, when the time comes and it's going to be right, it's going to be right. So eventually, one of my pharmacist friends that I actually worked with over one summer, she ended up calling me out of the blue. She had moved over to other jobs and stuff, so we hadn't spoken for a while. She called me out of the blue, and she's like, Ankita, I have something to tell you. Like, this is the opportunity that we're looking at. Would you be interested to, coming and joining us? Because she knew that this is something that I've really wanted to do. And she knew that I did have the skills and the set. It was just not, working out for me. So, I heard her out, and I saw the vision that she was trying to build, and it was almost the same vision that I had for my pharmacy. And without even like blinking, I was like, yes, I want to do it. Let's talk more and figure this out.
What was the sort of common vision that, you both had, if you could?
Yeah. So one thing that I kind of realized very early on into the pharmacy, business and the pharmacy, like the profession that I've been in now, is that I really never wanted to work for a corporate, or never wanted to have like a corporate background, pharmacy background. I wanted to always be associated with independent pharmacies. So the difference between like having a corporate, franchise, independent, right? So these are all different styles of businesses, basically. Corporate would be just something like a bigger chain pharmacy like Walmart or Superstore, exactly. Save on Foods. All of these are mainly corporate. They have their own, their focus is mainly on grocery, but they also have the pharmacy side. And I never kind of felt that connection with having a job or associate or having kind of any kind of opportunity over there. I always felt more connection being in an independent pharmacy where you're face to face talking to the owner, learning from them, and all of that, right? So my first job as an assistant that I had gotten was also an independent pharmacy.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Yeah. And then when you talk to somebody that puts their heart and soul into that business, it just strikes different.
Right.
You know?
But just to clarify, the pharmacies that you mentioned, let's say Shoppers or Superstore, you would be working there. It's not like a business. You don't have, you wouldn't be owning or
not
franchise.
those two, but Shoppers Drug Mart, you do. They have a different style of running the pharmacy.
Okay.
So the Shoppers Drug Mart, if I was a pharmacist and I wanted to run a Shoppers Drug Mart, I could do that. I'm called an associate.
Okay.
In that scenario. And they basically, Shoppers, the head office, helps you find a location and helps you do the fixtures and the inventory and stuff like that. But you're basically the person to run it. So you're basically kind of like the CEO of that place.
Okay.
So it does feel like it's your own. You just don't own the space and the fixtures and the inventory, but you are basically the person that is running it. So that way it's a little bit of a different thing there with Shoppers. But I honestly, like I said, never really felt,
but it would be a better option for someone who wants to play it safe, because Shoppers, people would go do their groceries and they have their set of business, right? They have their clients, and
that's true.
That is a safer option.
That you could say that. Yeah. Okay. Less risk almost, because it's an established business.
Yeah.
People are always going to look for it.
Yeah.
And plus you have the backing of a bigger company, right? So you have your head office to guide you.
Right.
But if you're an independent, you're answering every question. You have to figure out, you have to problem solve. You can go back and ask somebody else, right?
Right.
So that's definitely one way to look at it. Less risk is what I would say.
And same would be Rexall as well.
Rexalls are just franchisee. So they are all head office owned Rexalls. Okay. Remedies and PharmaSaves, these are independently owned. Okay. So all we have for those companies, you have the name, which attracts customers.
Yeah, you still have the brand name.
You still
almost
have
like
the brand.
A franchise.
Exactly. You pay your dues and you get the name. But everything like from location, from fixtures, from inventory, it's all you have to do it.
Okay.
Right? So when you're selling that business, it's your business that you're selling, basically.
Okay. Sorry, I think I deviated. So we were talking about the vision that you both shared.
Yeah. So the vision was to have an independent pharmacy. That was the main goal. And also something else that they were thinking about, which kind of interested me, is compounding. So here in Calgary, in Canada, drugs that are not commercially available can be actually made from scratch in a pharmacy, as long as you have the right setup.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So,
and not all pharmacies do that.
No, they don't. Yeah. Because the setup itself costs quite a bit of money. You need to have the right equipment. You need to get the right license for it. And it's a little bit of a different, obviously, step. The auditing process is a little bit different, right? So it's definitely an additional task and, additional work that you have to put in, and time and effort to have that up and running.
Okay.
Plus, to keep it going, there's obviously, a different whole set of skills that you would need. But the compounding itself has always been of an interest.
Right.
Since, my bachelor's degree, still remember I used to make cosmetics, even formulations, different kind of formulations.
So you did that?
Yeah,
wow.
They do. They do a course with just cosmetics. So we would. I remember making compact powders, lipsticks.
That's fun.
Yeah, blushes and stuff like that. So it is quite a bit of fun, and it's very interesting. It's not monotonous. It's something that challenges you, and I definitely to be challenged. Okay. So that was her vision. And the main thing that she wanted me to deal with is also the compounding side. And I'm like, for sure. That's something that I want to learn and be, more in touch with. Because over the years, if you're just doing the pharmacy side, you kind of lose that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But which year was this when she reached out to you?
So this was in 2020, where
2022?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So starting from then, I ended up meeting my business partner. So there was a third person involved in the business too.
Mhm.
So I ended up meeting this third person, and then all of us started,
So three people.
imagining this together.
Okay.
Eventually what happened is, so this was just like they were just like very start, time, and they hadn't really decided much of it, but they were going to build this pharmacy from scratch. Yeah.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is we went into little bit of a difficult situation where my pharmacist friend ended up leaving the project because of various reasons. And then I was there still, and this new person that I had just met.
Right.
So it was when that had just happened, and I was told that, okay, my friend, she wants to not be involved in the project anymore. So that was a bit of a like, okay, well, what should I do now? Right. And I remember there was this one time where I'm just sitting there and I'm like weighing my pros and cons, weighing my options. Am I really a risk taker? Or can I do this?
Mhm.
And it kind of came out of nowhere. So I wasn't like fully prepared for it.
Mhm.
And at that point, I just decided that, you know what? No, opportunities like this are
Don't come.
once in a lifetime opportunities. This is something that I've always wanted to do. I've thought about it so much.
Mhm.
There's no point in thinking it twice,
Mhm.
not having that confidence. I'm just gonna, go with it, and we'll figure it out down the road.
Right.
how to do it and what to do.
You took the leap of faith.
I took the leap of faith. Yes. And I think that was the best decision I've taken.
Okay.
And after that, the journey was like, once you're focused and once there's no turning back, you're going to do it no matter what.
Right.
I think then you just end up figuring it out. Right?
Okay.
No matter how many struggles and problems come your way, you just got to, go with it. So that's what happened. And then it took us 6 months to get started, basically. So 6 months was our planning phase, the construction phase.
But how did you decided on the location?
The location was actually an easier way to do because we had doctors next door that wanted to move with us, and they were already downtown.
Okay.
And they were moving places. So their building was going under redevelopment, and they wanted to find a new location. So it was kind of like a mutual understanding that we wanted to be downtown. They wanted to be downtown because their customer base already knew it was downtown location. They knew that place. So they were kind of looking somewhere downtown where they can have the clinic and the pharmacy kind of together. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was like almost like an easier task that, okay, this is our area, this is our zone, and we just need to figure out which place works best for us.
Okay. Yeah. So which year did you actually open the pharmacy?
So this year is our third. We are having our 3rd year anniversary in 2 days. Actually,
wow!
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations!
Thank you. So 2022 in June is when we open.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the most important factor to start any business would be finances.
Correct.
So were you able to apply for a loan? How did that happen? And how much does it approximately cost for anyone to start their own pharmacy?
Right. So because pharmacy business is so well established, the banks are not that stingy almost to give the loans because they know that this is a, well established, run by professionals, and there's, not that much of a risk. So the loan process was very straightforward. We did apply to a few banks to figure out which bank we get the best exactly rates from, and then ATB is the one that we ended up going with because it's kind of like a partially government funded bank, and they really focus on small businesses.
Okay.
So they really helped us out, made the process very straightforward and easy. And it has been an amazing journey with ATB so far.
Okay.
So yeah. So that wasn't too bad. So we had to come up with a business plan, obviously, and then, show our backgrounds and stuff. And we just went with the, best bank that we could back then.
But what would be the approximate amount, like investment needed for somebody wanted to start their own?
Honestly, comes down to what size of a pharmacy you want to build.
Okay.
Right? So because we were doing construction and we decided to focus more on the pharmacy side, not so much on the front store, where the OTC, we only have very essential OTC section, 1 or 2 rows, and that's about it. Not a big front store. So then our construction cost was about 100 to 125 grand. And then inventory and stuff like that. So it could run up to like anywhere from 150K to 300K even sometimes, because it just then it depends on what big of a location you want to go with. Yeah. I think because we also ended up adding the compounding side, the equipment and stuff, all of that kind of cost a little bit more for us. Yeah.
But you mentioned like having relationship with doctors is essential. So when I think about like back in India, your doctors would almost like give you the brand name of the medicine, and it is available in certain pharmacies near to the clinic.
Yeah.
And won't be necessarily available if you go out of that area.
Correct.
That is not the case here.
No.
It is like someone would be like, I buy my medicines from Costco, no matter if the pharmacy is right within the clinic.
Correct.
I would still go to Costco or whatever my healthcare plan has better options.
Right. Yeah.
But does it still matter having a clinic and having a doctor's relationship?
Yes, it definitely does matter. Having a standalone pharmacy versus having a pharmacy that has a clinic next door, it's definitely quite a bit of a difference. And that's only because the clinic has a well-established practice. People look for doctors all the time here, especially where such a shortage going on, right? So there's always going to be people that are coming to see the doctor, and having that pharmacy close by gives you an added advantage because now you have the foot traffic already in there. So business side, it kind of makes more sense to have it right beside the clinic, and it's a one-stop shop kind of thing for most people. They won't have to make multiple stops to get their medication. So that helps. Having a good relationship with the doctors is amazing because we help doctors out. They help us out quite a bit, right? So if they are stuck on a patient and they're trying to figure out what therapy to use, they've already used this, and this, not working and all of that, they actually do come to the pharmacist and ask us. Because we do know a wide range of options that are available. Plus here in Canada, everybody has insurance and all the insurances get billed real time. And so it kind of helps the doctors knowing what medication will be covered for their patient. And if they're next door, then they'll just, tell, okay, go talk to the pharmacist, see what is covered. And then we can talk more options and we'll go from there.
Right.
So having that's always an added advantage. Plus, if there's any things we find on a prescription that, okay, maybe this patient's not allowed to take this medication, it's kind of easier to have the doctor next door and, communicate with them faster so that the patient doesn't have to wait longer.
You've been doing this for 2 years now, and it's your anniversary. How is it going so far?
It's amazing. It's absolutely, like how I imagined it to be. We're in a really nice area in the city. Patients are amazing. They're, if they leave us good reviews all the time, which is great. What is your location, just so if there's some people watching from Calgary and would want to visit? So we are located right downtown on 17th Avenue Southwest, between 2nd and 4th Street. I'll mention it on the screen. And so the location's amazing. Patients are amazing. We try to do our best to give them the best patient care that we can, good counseling and stuff like that. People really recognize when you take the time out to talk to them, and really explain their medication before they actually go home, and have no doubts in their mind. So that definitely has been, very amazing to see. The response from the public is good. really
That's good. I'm so happy it's going good for you. And especially when a fellow Mumbaiker is doing like amazing, it always makes me so happy.
Thank you.
But yeah, compounding. Like sometimes it's not covered in your healthcare.
Yeah.
What is so special about compounded medications? And if you could throw more light, I have like literally almost no clue about it.
Yeah, because it's something that is not very commonly done,
yeah.
right? So the compounding piece is not sometimes covered because when we make compounds, we buy the powders, we buy the bases, and then we actually make it from scratch.
Yeah.
So most insurance companies they allow us to process prescriptions based on commercially available prescriptions, right? So all commercially available drugs have a special number attached to them. And when we process the claim, that's the number that the insurance company is looking for. So there's a big list of all the medications with all those numbers, and they have that in their formulary, and they'll be like, okay, as long as it matches this, we'll cover it.
Right.
The problem with the compounds is it doesn't have a number because we're making it from scratch. We can assign a number to it.
Right.
So, and then we're buying powders, which powders don't come with their specific numbers attached to it either. That's how it is with Health Canada, right? So it does take a little bit of work to kind of get that medication covered by the insurance.
And not all of them will cover it.
Not all of them. It also, at the end of the day, depends on the insurance plans that are out there. So if somebody has a certain plan that doesn't cover compounded medications at all, there's really nothing we can do about it.
And those are expensive.
Compounded medications are expensive because it takes a lot of time out of our normal life, that normal work that we're doing to figure out the calculations behind it, to get that equipment, like I said. And then you also need a trained professional that knows how to make those compounds. Right. So a lot goes in the background into getting that compound ready. And that's why the price is a little bit higher than what is commercially available, and manufacturers make it in bulk, provide it to the world almost. And so the prices of those medications are always cheaper than something that you really need to figure out in store.
But I just missed asking you, like, when you opened your pharmacy, how was your first day? How were you feeling? And were you happy it was finally happening for you?
Oh, I was very happy. Very stressed, but at the same time, very happy. I remember, so it was 1st of June we were opening, and 31st of May we were there until like 9 p.m. Had to start work the next day at 9. But I'll tell you a story that happened the day before. So the construction was happening for the clinic and the pharmacy at the same time. And the clinic ended up opening first because our equipments got a little bit delayed.
Okay.
So the compounding equipment was getting shipped from the US, and it's a big equipment that needs to come in, and I can't get the place licensed until I have everything in place.
Right.
So our opening date got pushed. And the clinic was open. So clinic is open next door, and the day comes, we got our licensing and everything in place. We have our inventory, and all of us are in store on 31st of May. So I have me, my business partner, my husband was there helping, and my cousins. I had 2 cousins that live here too. They were all there, just like dropping by, helping us stock the shelves.
Right.
So there's stuff everywhere on the floor. We're trying to figure out where to put stuff, how to display stuff, and all of that. The whole chaos is going on. I'm somewhere in the back of the store just trying to figure out something. And I hear everybody yelling my name. And I'm like, what happened, right? So I come running out from the back, and I see there's a patient standing there. So the patient actually had seen that we are almost open. And they had gone to one of the doctors next door, and he came over to drop off his prescription. And so I go, and nobody knew how to deal with it. So they yell my name. So I come out. And then I talk to this patient, and I tell him, I'm so sorry that we're not open yet. I can't officially fill anything today. Everything starts tomorrow. And the patient was like, no, it's fine. Like, I just want to drop this off, and I need this injection for tomorrow anyway. So I'll just come by and pick it up tomorrow when you're open.
Wow. So you already had patients coming in.
Right? So that was our first patient, and everybody's like overhearing what I'm talking to this patient. So they realized this is our first patient, and they all got so excited.
Yeah.
And they started clapping. And just like such like happiness, just like
I
pouring.
could almost like feel their happiness in the air.
Right?
Everyone like looking at the patient.
Exactly. And so they just all just start clapping, and they're like, "Yay, our first patient! You are our first patient." They're telling him, and I'm like, "Guys, just keep it down. You're scaring him. He's gonna leave now." But yeah, that's how I felt. Like that was it. Like the excitement was so much because it was years of thinking about it in the works. 6 months prior to that date was like so much work has got into it, so much time, effort. Everybody that was there that day was so supportive for the last 6 months, and stuff like that happened. So, and it was just like, yeah, amazing experience.
It's such and the memory, it'll stay with you forever, right? Such a
one
special
of the best memories.
thing,
Yes. For sure.
But any other challenges that you ran into? Let's say you mentioned like your equipments were delayed.
Yes. Yeah. Because we were also completely independent, I didn't have anybody to really tell me what to do next. So trying to figure out my own timelines was different. I had already worked in the pharmacy for a good 6 years by then, 8 years by then. But you kind of know a little bit, but I think it's easier if you are backed up by a banner or a franchise or a bigger company or head office. They tell you exactly what to do. I didn't have that.
Right.
I did have a really good mentor from before. The first owner that I started working for, he was amazing. Like he taught me the pharmacy, the ways to do here and way to work. But he would also talk to me about the business side. And I think that kind of motivated me even more to do it myself.
Right.
So I kind of knew a little bit of what needs to be done and how the finances look, what kind of numbers I need to watch out for and stuff like that. But it was just a struggle figuring out what to do next, right?
Okay.
So trying to figure out the construction, what goes where, what kind of drawers do I need, what kind of, where does it need to be in the pharmacy? So that was a bit of a a learning curve, almost figuring out for yourself. Insurance companies are a big thing here, right? So everybody comes in with insurance. So trying to figure out how to set up these insurance companies
in the system
and how to make accounts with them, when to make these accounts, because they want certain time, before your pharmacy is going to be open, to have that in place.
Okay.
So we actually ended up getting delayed on a couple of insurance companies. So I didn't have those on day one, but I ended up, kind of expediting stuff and making those phone calls and stuff and figuring out and kind of making that fall in place.
Okay.
So that was definitely one of the hoops that I had to go over and figure out.
But I think these are the experiences that you learn so much from, right? Rather than having it the easier way.
True.
But did you have any mentor guiding you apart from the one that you mentioned?
Honestly speaking, for the pharmacy itself, not really. But overall, having that motivation and stuff, my family has always been, the one that I always turn towards. Okay. My dad was always there, helping me, guiding me, motivating me. And I could see he was very happy that I'm kind of moving forward. Mom was very, very excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, they were, not here when I was actually opening that day.
Yeah.
So they couldn't, help me, but they were there, just on the phone, just walking me through stuff and all of that. Yeah. So, there was also a career coach that I've been working with, since I started the Directions for Immigrants when I first moved here.
Okay.
So we were assigned career coaches. So that career coach was also somebody that have, guided me through this whole process of getting licensed and stuff. And actually, she's the one who got me on board to come back once I got my license to come to Directions for Immigrants and work for them and then facilitate these classes.
So now you're on the other side of the table.
Exactly. It was like a full circle for me.
Yeah.
And she's been in my life since day one. And we, she's a really good, person that, I can talk to and get some guidance if I need to. And yeah.
Right. But on the business side, I want to ask you, because you don't have much of a front end, let's say, what do we call over-the-counter medications and stuff like that. You don't would have so much theft or vandalism to deal with, right?
Correct. And plus, we are downtown, so we do need to think about that side.
Exactly.
The theft.
17th Ave.
Exactly. And the theft in any pharmacy it is quite a bit. Plus, the bigger the front store, the harder to manage. So we really wanted to focus more on just the pharmacy, the care that we can give at the pharmacy, the one-to-one relationship that we can build with the patients, and then the compounding, right? So that was our main focus. And so we have a little bit of a front store, essentials only kind of thing that people would need. And then over like vitamins and Tylenol and Advil and stuff like that, right? So just our regular stuff. Okay. But yeah, you're right. Like the theft, I don't have to really honestly worry too much about it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That was a smart move, I would say, in your case. But I also saw on your pharmacy, they specifically mention diabetes management.
Correct.
What is that?
Yes. So, all healthcare professionals, so pharmacists, doctors, nurse practitioners and stuff like that, they can write another additional exam to get licensed as a diabetes educator.
Okay.
So Canadian Diabetes Association, basically, they hold these exams. And so eventually, once I got my pharmacy license, I started working and I started kind of exploring more as to what I want to do next, and grow my profession, add more, things to what I do on a daily basis. I decided to become a diabetes educator. So I ended up writing this exam, and then what it basically does, it kind of definitely gave me more confidence to deal with patients that come in that have diabetes, right? People that are starting newly diagnosed on, with diabetes, or people that have been struggling with taking care of the diabetes side. So that's what I kind of do. So I will usually sit down with patients that have diabetes and focus more on that part.
Okay.
I'll train them on blood glucose monitors that they can take home and measure their readings. And then I work with them on an ongoing basis as to figuring out what those readings mean, what they look like, how to improve them. And then other things too, I'll look at their medications, see if the medications are really kind of working for them. If their lab works and stuff are not at target, then I'll, make that recommendation to their doctor. And then we'll go work as a team, me and the doctor, and figuring out what's the best next step that we can do for the patient.
Okay.
I counsel them on diet, exercise.
That's what I was asking. Do you educate them over diet as well?
Absolutely.
And that would be a separate thing to learn for you.
Yes. Yeah, we do learn a little bit, but I think this education kind of gave me a little bit more confidence and actually, sitting down with them and, kind of going through their day, how that looks like.
Okay.
And figuring out what we can change, how we can change, what's the best way to approach that. Okay. So diet-wise, exercise, lifestyle is really important for people with diabetes, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a big portion. Medications, yes, they do help, but medication with the lifestyle, that's ideal.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you manage the business side, being a pharmacist, educating people? And your personal life as well? How do you maintain a balance?
Oh, it's definitely a big struggle,
right?
And work-life balance was really good when I was just working.
Yeah.
I have my days off, and I could take vacations and not think about work.
Yeah.
But I think since I have started focusing since I started basically getting onto this project and like working. I remember for the first 6 months, I would go to work, I would come home, and then there was always something that I needed to do on my laptop, figure out the next, like towards the business, like what am I going to do?
Right.
I wrote my own policies and procedures because again, I didn't have any head office to look towards, right? So I had to do everything from scratch, make the different accounts and stuff like that. So for those 6 months, I honestly had no life.
Yeah.
It was all work and then figuring out the business. On my days off, I would go down to the construction site and then make sure that everything is falling in place. I would sit down on days off with my business partner trying to plan our next steps, right?
Right.
So that was definitely a struggle.
Mhm.
And then once I started the store, there has been so many ups and downs. Trying to figure out the daily has been a little bit of a struggle. I feel like as I've been a little bit more mindful of that now.
Right.
And now that we have settled down a little bit and, figured out most of the nitty gritty stuff. And
Right.
now we're just trying to build more on top. I try to, keep my work life separate a little bit. Yeah. And not bring those stresses home, which I was definitely doing for the first year.
Right.
I was definitely bringing those
and
stresses
which is given
home.
as well, right? When you're doing something of your own, you're so much more passionate and you want to give so much more to it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But just one thing I wanted to ask, like, doctors, they have to update their education, like take courses, learn new things all the time. Is it same with pharmacists as well?
Yes, we do. We get our license renewed every year.
Okay.
And this is kind of around June is when it gets renewed. So we have to finish 15 hours of learning throughout the year.
Okay.
And then plus we have to go online and, record all of that in there. Plus on top of that, we have some prescribed activities and stuff that we have to do every year. Only then we can renew the license.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next? Like, what other plans do you have? Do you want to grow this?
Yeah. For the last 6 months or so, me and my business partner, we've been talking about what to do next. And I think my vision would be to, have more pharmacies under my belt and move on and grow the name and, spread more. And if the right opportunity, like I said, comes along, then I'll be, right on it. But I'm also quite open to getting into different businesses and doesn't have to be just pharmacy. But taking my knowledge of running a business from this sector and then trying to do something else.
Yeah.
So we were actually just last week talking about getting into more aesthetics and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's something that I would like to do next.
Beauty aesthetics?
Beauty aesthetics. Yeah. Getting into Botox and microneedling and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that is such a hot topic these days. Like everyone wants to do more and learn more about it.
Of course.
Now that you've been doing this for 2 years, is there some good experiences or bad, maybe with customers or something happened at your store that you would want to share with us?
Well, yeah, customers can be a bit difficult sometimes. Plus, it's a retail kind of industry. So I have always, as a pharmacist, try to put the patient first, try to be in their shoes, because sometimes that kind of diffuses the situation. When you understand somebody else's point of view, then you realize where they're coming from. Right. So then in that case, I would, if somebody is being difficult, with me, I try to kind of reason with them. Staying calm really helps. I've learned that over the years, and I think I get my patience from my mom.
Okay.
She's a very patient person. So, that I do see that and I do want to incorporate that in my life. And so I try to stay calm as much as I can and, trying to diffuse a situation by kind of putting it out there, communicating with the person that, maybe this is why do you feel like this, and then they'll try to connect with you. They'll try to trust you even a little bit more. And then that kind of, helps the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is my personal question. Just out of curiosity, I was like, in Canada or in North America in general, old age is when people would maybe not have their health covered. Like, because when you're working, you have it covered from your employer.
Correct.
But after retirement, sometimes, people who have not planned their retirement
Correct.
and now they're struggling. Have you seen like old people struggling with?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes. So the governments, most of the provinces, they do have coverages for older people. So after 65 years of age,
Mhm.
you do get government insured plans,
Okay.
which seniors don't pay for. So there's
Okay.
no premiums involved, but also not all the medications are covered.
Okay.
And they're not fully covered. They're a partial portion that the patient still needs to end up paying.
Okay.
And sometimes, like you said, if they haven't planned or life happens, things
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
and they are not great at doing financially. I have seen patients
People
struggle.
struggling.
Yeah. And then I have had patients, I still do, where they'll be like, I can't afford the medication today, but when I get paid, I think there's the pension that they get, right?
Yeah.
From the government. So when I do get that pension check come in a week, only then I can,
It must be
cover
so
for that
heartbreaking to see these
it
things.
is. And then I
right?
always end up asking them, but do you have enough until then, and can I help you out in any way? And then at that point, it kind of it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But there's my hands are tied and only so much I can do. So
True.
yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you're not a financial planner, but is there any advice you would want to give? Do you know anything? I don't know. Just for people who are struggling.
For people that are struggling.
Like old people is just plan ahead.
Just plan ahead.
Okay.
There are other programs that are government funded programs.
Mhm.
So there is a seniors financial assistance program that is in Alberta, which a lot of seniors don't know about.
Mhm.
It's an additional program that you have to sign up. It's not your regular Alberta Blue Cross,
Okay.
which people can, there's a form for it. You sign up and they actually end up covering your copays on a lot of medications.
Okay.
So the portion that patients are paying out of pocket, they are able to reimburse it in a lot of situations too.
Okay.
So there are these programs that, you just gotta talk to the right person, the pharmacist, and, trying to figure that out. Sometimes doctors are a good resource where they know of certain programs that we also sometimes don't know.
Don't know?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. But we are almost finishing this. So do you have any advice for people who are thinking of entrepreneurship in pharmacy sector or immigrants in general from all this wealth of experience that you have?
For the international grads.
Yeah.
So all the pharmacists that have come here from anywhere in the world, and I do work with them at Directions. And the first thing I would usually tell them is, you guys are already pharmacists.
Yeah.
You just have to, write the exams and prove it. Which is, why not, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I say, if I can do it, everybody can do it. Why not? So that's how I tell them, you just got to stick with the program, stick with the plan, focus, and it's doable.
Okay.
Right? It is doable. You just gotta, stay on path, stay on track.
Okay.
It takes a lot. And especially when you have life and you have dependents, it can be a bit of a struggle. And I see that all the time.
Right.
And I feel for them, but it's just, you need to focus.
Okay.
You need to prioritize sometimes this stuff. And then, career is important.
Right.
And I've always been quite ambitious, right? So for me, I do feel like that's important. I kind of try to impart that on
which shows
people
from your journey as well. But
entrepreneur-wise, I would say, it's a big risk. I feel. I feel like it. You need to be a person that is okay taking that risk and doing it. I would not suggest anybody do it just because somebody else is doing it. You have to be really committed to the profession because it takes a lot out of you. even sometimes I feel like I do like the profession. I do like to talk to people. I do like to give my knowledge to the patients. And because of the business side, I'm not able to. I get stuck on the business side and I have to do the back end stuff and all of that. And I can't be in the pharmacy doing what I actually love. So there's a little bit of like a give and take kind of thing going on there.
So you should consider everything.
You should consider your finances. You should consider exactly how you want to, what you really want to do. So if for me, it was breaking the chain and just like taking profession to the next level for me and giving the best care I can to the patients. That was my final goal. And I could only do that, with owning my own pharmacy, running the way I want to run it, and really helping the patients that come to my pharmacy, right? And I could do that if I had my own, right? And so that was my final goal. And if that's something, that appeals, then entrepreneurship is the way to go.
Okay. North America, when you mention like risk in entrepreneurship, the one thing that comes to my mind being on the outside is there is so much of this suing culture in North America with regulated professions like pharmacy or doctors. Getting your license cancelled is the most crucial thing. Like, then your career is just finished.
Exactly.
So how it must take a lot for something like that to happen, right?
It is definitely a high responsibility kind of profession. And doctors, nurses, pharmacists, we all have our own professional insurances, liability insurances that we have to get no matter what. Otherwise, we can work without having that liability insurance. And that's kind of to protect us as well, right? Safeguard our profession, safeguard our career as well. But kind of just, keeping the head in the game and going straight with it is what definitely helps, right? So that's something that I've always thought about and done. But that's definitely a big risk. You're right. Like that's also a risk that everybody needs to think about. And it's a very high responsible kind of job. And your sign is on everything. And I do think about that. I really thought about that when I first started. But once you start doing the job over and over, you get more confident. You get people's trust. And I feel like that kind of makes you not so stressed out about that side.
About that side, right.
As long as you do your job right,
Definitely. It was such a wonderful time talking to you, and I got to learn so much from you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Absolutely.
And it was wonderful chatting with you. If any of the viewers, if they want to get in touch with you, are you open to mentorship? Are you open to answer questions for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have taken on interns and done mentorship programs with the Newcomer Center over the years. I work with directions all the time. So I really want to give back to the community as much as I can. So reach out to me at my pharmacy.
At your pharmacy? That's what I was going to ask. What is the best way to reach out to you?
I think the best and the fastest way to reach me is through email. Because I always have my notifications on my phone. So that's the best way. So my pharmacy email is primecareyyc@gmail.com. And that's the best one to reach me at.
I'll add all the contact details in the description. But thank you once again. Thank you so much for your time and so much information that you've shared with us. And good luck to you with all your future endeavors and on the journey that you're going to nail ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for considering me for this.
No, definitely.
I honestly feel honored to be here.
It's same here. I feel so good chatting with you, especially like a fellow Mumbaiker, and you've achieved so much over the years here. And good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
And if you liked the video, please don't forget to hit the like button and comment down below, like if you have any questions or how was your experience, what did you learn from this, and I'll see you in the next one.